check, 1, 2.
Go! Curious about real estate? Yes! Then you've come to the right place. Get the knowledge you need. Get over the fear and get started. This is the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show with your host, Michael Quarles.
Hello, everybody. Michael Quarles with the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. And today we have podcast 250. It is a scenario question, and I'm going to try my best. Been enjoying this week from my vacation, coming back from my vacation anyway. Been enjoying helping everybody I can help and answering these questions. So remember, if you have a question, send it to support@michaelquarles.com. Here we go. I recently inherited $100,000, and I'd like to invest in real estate. I live in Southern California where there are no more real estate bargains. But property seems to keep appreciating at a pretty high rate. $100,000 won't get me any properties free and clear, but it would be a good 25% down payment on perhaps 2 one-bedroom condos that might rent for about $1,200 each. Would I be better investing in my inheritance out of state? California property taxes are favorable, as is appreciation in general. What is your advice? Stay in California or go out of state? And if out of state, what area? Gosh, there's so many questions that came to mind and answers to those questions. First of all, hard to say congratulations on inheriting $100,000, because in order to inherit it, that means you lost a loved one. I wish you well on that. And then congratulations on being an individual that they wanted to appreciate with that inherited amount of money. Do I think that you should be an investor with only $100,000? And quite frankly, I don't think you should look at the $100,000 as investable money. One of the faults that some people have is blowing through money they didn't earn, money that came too simple for them. And in reality, you don't need money or a lot of it as a real estate investor. Non-traditional real estate investor, let me back up and say that. We buy properties creatively, and I can buy as much property as you can buy without $100,000 as you can with $100,000, if that makes any sense. So what I'd invite you to learn how to buy houses so you don't need to dip into the inherited amount of money, because if you don't know how to buy houses and your crutch is that 100's going to break on you and it's going to go away, and then you're not going to have anything for it. So let's put that in a bank someplace. Let's dig a hole in the backyard, put that money in the hole in the backyard, do something with it. Do not invest it until you do in fact know how to invest in real estate. You might want to look at some coaching programs. I have a pretty good one, and I'd invite you to learn some things first. Now let's go to your second question, which is that you are in Southern California and there aren't any bargains anymore. That's not necessarily true. They're harder to find. They take more marketing dollars, but your return on investment on your marketing is similar. So where if I market and I buy a house for $150,000 in my city, and I'm in California, and if you bought a house worth $600 and I received a % return on my postcard, you'd only have to receive a 0.25% return on your marketing dollars, and my marketing dollars would equal. Now you would do a lot less work because I'm doing 4 times the amount of work for the same return. So yours is better all the way around. And even in your area, you can still find those distressed properties or the distressed sellers that need to sell. Keep in mind, we buy from people who are procrastinators. They've procrastinated a situation, or the property doesn't afford time, either because of that procrastination or something else that's happened. And so those folks are born every day. They're there. You know who they are. They're hoarders. They're procrastinators. They're people that are down on their luck, and then we're not going to take advantage of them. We're just going to help them solve their problem. And in reality, there's deals in your area. They're just harder to find. Now, should you get into your next questions? Should you buy condos? No. The only time you buy a condo is when the condo market is not necessarily a dominant market, but at least 25% of the market's condos. If your area is 25% of the market is condos, then you can say, hey, I can go buy some condos. The big reason why you try to stay away from condos from an investment strategy perspective, unless it's passive, then only one of these reasons apply. But if you're flipping condos, then you have to worry about the association fee because that deteriorates the value of the property. So let's assume for a second that you have a $300 association fee and on a condo. But if it weren't a condo and you didn't have that association fee, what more value would that $300 represent in a value in a property? But it doesn't represent value in the property on the condo necessarily because it's not affecting the condo except for maybe the management of the exterior parts of the infrastructure. So the $300 is actually costing value, but you still have to pay it. The other thing is if you're flipping condos, you have to be worried about how many owner-occupants are in that condo complex and how many investor-owned properties are in that condo complex, because your lending requirements and your lending rules are going to be different based upon the percentages of owner-occupants. And it could cause you some valuation issues and sellability issues because you may have a hard time, or your buyer may have a hard time down the road actually financing using traditional means. So we try to stay away from condos unless we know they're 25% of the marketplace or greater, and you have a lot of owner-occupants in there. And the third thing on the condo, especially the homeowners association, is you will want to get basically their balance sheet. You'll want to make sure that they have liquidity, that they're not a homeowners association that's going to file for bankruptcy, or they don't have the means to support the complex that they were paid to support. And so there's some things that you want to look at and determine. And if you've ever bought a condo or a home in an association, closed off association, and that association went bankrupt and couldn't maintain the properties, man, it's a hardship on a lot of owners because they've already paid their association fee, and now they basically have to double that, but they have to double that all at one time because maybe the roads or the exterior or the roofing or whatever the association was responsible for can't perform, and now we have to perform for them. So try to stay away from condos, but let's look at the other question is...
Thanks for listening. We'll be right back. Are you running out of leads? It's time you tried Yellow Letters at yellowletters.com. Get motivated seller leads through Yellow Letters, postcards, zip letters, typed professional letters, greeting cards, door hangers, and business cards. Yellow Letters is a full-service marketing company created with your success in mind. Get the personal attention you need to get your direct mail campaign started and get in touch at yellowletters.com.
And we are back in 3, 2, 1.
Should you invest out of state? I think there's some great areas of this country that you can invest in. I ran an algorithm on... my algorithm is a marketing algorithm, so I do some data feeds to it. So I look at number of units, number of cash sales, number of foreclosures, number of REOs, real estate owned properties by lenders, days on market, median values, equity percentages, equity bases, those kinds of things. And I can pull back from a city where I would market, and what areas and what states, for that matter, I would market to. And so we know Texas is good right now. We know Florida is exceptional. I like North Carolina as well. I like the Valley of California as well. And so there's some pockets out there. Philadelphia is exceptional. The only problem with Philadelphia, and there's not a lot of problems with Philadelphia, but the major problem I see with Philadelphia, and we're coming out of it now, so it's not going to be a big problem. But anytime you have an area that has long winters and thick winters, so it just doesn't rain, it snows, so you have a thick winter, your market kind of comes to a standstill, so you have to accommodate for that. But in your green states and your hotter states, that kind of stuff, where you have, although you still have 4 seasons, you have little winters and little springs, and the summers and falls are pretty long, and so you can get a lot of work done throughout the year. So out of the areas, if I were going to do this, and if I was in California and I wanted to do this, I'd stay in the Valley of California. The Valley stretches from Bakersfield, Sacramento. Stockton's a little pricey. Modesto's not so bad. Lodi's a little pricey, not so bad. You've got Fresno. You've got Selma. You have Merced. You've got Delano, Wasco, of course, Bakersfield. A little Shafter. You have some little cities. Run some algorithms on that. Run an inventory base. Run some equity percentages on those areas. And you'll find that although you're going to be buying them virtually, being in California, you'll know the single law for California, where you have multiple states. You have to learn all the different state laws and that kind of thing. And they're all different. And it's appropriate to know them. So if you stay in California, that'd be pretty good. I wouldn't invite you at all to go touch your house. It doesn't matter. You don't need to see it. You don't need to smell it. You don't need to touch it. You don't need to taste it, kind of stuff. You can buy it virtually. And if you go through the coaching program, you will absolutely learn how to do that. And so that's what I would do. I'd set my $100,000 aside. I'd put it in the can in the backyard or put it in the bank account. Wouldn't rely upon it. Learn how to buy with zero cash or seller financing or sub 2. Subject 2 is buying a house and leaving the existing voluntary and involuntary liens on the property, so you're not paying them off. You're just becoming responsible, although it's not a formal assumption. Seller financing is when the seller is financing the property for you. So there's absolutely ways you can do that. I'd stay away from condos. You're right, LA's or the Southern California is a harder market, but there's still good deals down there. Still can be done. If I had my choice between your backyard or my backyard, I'd do my backyard with all day long. I just bought 4 houses while I was on vacation. Now I was in Mexico. 4 houses in Mexico while I was on vacation in Mexico. I didn't see the seller, didn't talk to the seller, didn't look at the house, didn't do anything. We've already got them sold. So that's a pretty good model. That's a pretty good business model. So when you can do that, do that. When you can do that, do that. There's a lot of, it's romantic, I understand, to go knock on a door and say, hello, my name is Michael Quarles with I Buy Houses. Thank you for inviting me out to by your house today is where I'm parked. Okay. I understand that's romantic. It feels good. It feels good like we're doing something positive. But it feels good to help people as well that don't know where to turn, and they can turn to us. The biggest takeaway you should have from this scenario answer is leave your money alone. Don't use it. And that goes for anybody else too. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. And that applies to, that liquidity that we've saved up or we've come across. Put it away. That's for you. It's not to gamble with. That's for your life. That's the post, whatever you decide to do now, that's after that. And yeah, does it feel good to have it? Have I taken a chunk out of my bank account and bought a house? Absolutely. But also put it back. And I didn't have a business model where I needed to count on it. It was just happened to say, oh, I can do it if I needed to. And as an example, I have an opportunity that I got to come up and buy a house. It's for $60,000, and they're going to close in 10 days. And the staff came to me and they say, Mike, can we close this house? Sure. How much is it? To $60,000. Sure, not a problem. I'll go find the money. If I don't, I'll just take it out of my account. But I'm not using my account as the means for doing it. It's like the safety net. So keep your 100 as the safety net, not as the vehicle to do it. And I hope that makes sense. It probably does for some, doesn't for other people. But I can tell you the major mistake that investors have made and are making and will make in the future is not having what we call a water faucet type mentality, a stop loss. And the stop loss for a lot of folks in business is when they run out of money. And that shouldn't be your stop loss. Your stop loss should be an amount of money that you have invested in it or you have from it that you're not going to go below, because if you go below that, it's jeopardizing your livelihood and your family and your people that rely upon you. And the water faucet business is the business that you can turn off if you get tired of it. You're not going to be jeopardized or not jeopardizing anything by having it. So think about that. But congratulations, kinda, again on the $100,000. But put it away. Don't use it. Learn how to buy without it. Till next time, you guys take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Get more info and stay in touch at michaelquarles.com.